Yes, Sir Hairless here. Today we have a patron request, so thank you for this one. It's a new artist to the channel, Roberta Flack, and the song is called The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face. The song was written by the Scottish Ewan MacColl. Now, I don't know Roberta Flack, but a quick Google shows me she sung Killing Me Softly, an extremely famous song. I'm sure I knew a version, or possibly versions by other artists, but she did get to #1 with that, so I've probably heard her before with that version she did. I can see she's also covered other famous songs such as Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow and Bridge Over Troubled Water. This version that we'll be listening to today has no video. I don't know the song, so this is as blind as a reaction you can get, really. Here are the lyrics on the screen. They're beautiful lyrics. You don't really get songs these days with lyrics like this, do you? So based on these lyrics, I imagine it will be quite calming. Let's see and get straight into it.
First time ever I saw your face, I thought the sun rose in your and the moon and the stars were the gifts you gave to the dark.
Interesting chord progression.
And the endless skies, my love, to the dark, and the endless skies, and the first time.
Whoa, that's the end of the first verse, but that's been 2 minutes already. Well, it is a calming song and it's a very slow song, and I'll get onto that in a bit as regards the harmonic progression, the chord changes. I wouldn't usually expect a slow song to feel like it's gone by quite quickly, but it has, which to me anyway is a good thing. Let's do our pause here and go over some analysis of what we've heard so far. If you don't want to hear my analysis or my thoughts, go to the timestamp. There's not really too much to talk about. If you've watched my channel before, you know we do a lot of a cappella and those arrangements are crazy. There's changes in pretty much every line. This does not do that. It keeps the same feeling. And that's because the musical elements, the singing style, the chord progression, which is very slow, they're all very, very consistent. And the overall effect this creates, again, at least for me, probably the same for you, is a kind of lulling feeling. We're being lulled into the song and it's just really relaxing. I was intrigued straight away from the opening, and rhythms are at the forefront of my thinkings for this. Immediately we have these cross rhythms created because you have the double bass, which has a hugely rhythmic part. There is percussion, but not significant at all, really. Sorry, significant is the wrong word. It's very significant, but it's not overbearing. It's not at the forefront. It's very subtle with a, what is that, cymbal tap? Quite infrequent compared to the percussion that we would typically see of pop songs, for example, and the piano as well with these small melodic lines. Now the piano has moved up in the phrase before that, the guitar had elongated the repeated phrase. And I noticed that throughout the introduction and throughout the verse, actually. It's quite long, 2 minutes, so I'm not going to replay it all. But if you do re-listen to the song, just focus on one part at a time, the piano, the guitar. And you'll see that as the song has been progressing, their individual melodic motifs, their phrases, which are often repeated, they start to develop and evolve, whether that be moving higher in pitch or becoming a bit longer or adding in some extra notes. Extremely subtle of getting some variety into a fairly static piece of music, and the music is very purposefully static in order to be so calming. Here's another example. The piano changed, it just went, and then that top note there really serves a purpose of dissonance through how it's sustained as everything else changes, and you hear the guitar line having some more notes. Really honing in on these arpeggiated figures up and down. So yeah, overall very relaxing. The other obvious thing would be Roberta's voice.
The first time ever I saw your face.
Make of that what you will. I find it extremely relaxing. It's a very smooth voice, very natural voice. She's implementing a lot of air, and if you've seen any of my Dimash videos, you'll know that I love when singers use this airy voice. When I say natural sounding, in today's world of music technology, there's a lot of treatment with a lot of artists, and there'll always be people for that, always be people against it. I can see both sides.
Rose in your eyes.
I don't need to use words here. You can see what I mean by just hearing her voice, the natural, true sound to it, authentic. Very nice vibrato as well. It's really quick, which is typically extremely obvious, but hers is quite subtle. I think I've already said subtle maybe 3 or 4 times. I think that's the theme of this song, subtle. And the final thing before we carry on is the chord progression. So basically just the chord changes as and when they come. In short here, which is funny because they're the opposite of short. Each one is much longer than you typically expect. It's very common in a lot of music, which granted is much quicker than this, that you get chord changes consistently. It's to keep things interesting. If you stay within one chord, you can only use the same selection of notes. So you change chord, you can use other notes, and then if you have 3 or 4 chords, you have a lot of variety objectively in the different pitches that you're using. Whilst not going over the top, you can cement a harmonic progression. So there are a lot of songs that use a standard 4-chord pattern. We get familiar with it. Here, they don't really do any of that. The changes of chords come infrequently. That whole section was just one chord. So the arpeggiated figures that we hear in the other instruments are making use of the limited notes that they have. There's not crazy dissonances, crazy jazz chords. So this moment here, that's an F chord. These are the 3 notes called a triad that make up the F chord. In general, the more notes that you start to add in, the more dissonant or the more funky they get. The chords now are difficult to define, and you can usually hear that harmony, and in my videos I talk about dissonance. This song does not have much of that. The chords overall are very standard. So when I say the instruments are limited to the notes that they're using, which is why they're doing these arpeggiated figures, it's because instead of having a selection of all of these, they can really just choose between these notes, and then they have some passing notes in between. So to go from here to here, and that one is like a passing note. Having the bass you see how it went dum bum again, just for a bit of variety, and then it repeats that note dum dum, which is the root of that chord. So the bass serves a harmonic function, but also a rhythmic function because of its rhythms. Cue Sir Hairless from the future. I'll hop over to the piano and I'll just play every chord that we hear in order quite quickly of this first verse, the first 2 minutes that we've heard. And you can decide if it sounds more or less natural than here, where the progression is very, very slow. Okay, let's carry on. So, and just the very final thing, the percussion that we do get, the rhythms. Boom, 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 boom. They create the imagery of castanets or something in my head, and the song Little Drummer Boy is coming to mind. All right, I think I ended up actually speaking quite a lot there. Let's carry on.
And the first time ever I kissed your mouth, I felt the earth move in my hand, like the trembling heart of a captive bird that was there at my command, my love, that was there at my command, my love. And the first time.
Okay, that's the end of the second verse. Just a few things here. We've obviously got some new instrumentation coming in, with the cello being the prominent part. There's such a good job in this song of almost kind of teasing us. Overall, the feeling is the same as at the start. It's just relaxing. A bit more energy with these added instruments, thickening the texture a bit. But they kind of tease us, and then everything just goes back to how it was, which exaggerates that lulling feeling I was talking about at the beginning, I guess.
My love,
That bit is probably the most dramatic thing that we've had in the whole song. And very subtle there, we hear the cello dropping in that, again, arpeggio figure. Dum, bum, bum. The violins as well coming at the top. The arpeggiated figure in the guitar, now much more... Dum, bum, 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 bum. More vitality to it. Okay, so the few things for this verse, I'll try and remember them chronologically. The first thing was when she sung the word kissed.
ever I kissed your mouth.
Kissed, straight tone all the way through, and it's ever so slightly teetering, but it's not vibrato. And I don't know about you, but I was thinking, oh, the vibrato is going to come through towards the end of the note, as singers so often do. But no, she stays with the straight tone. I think it makes that word kissed quite a dramatic or emotional word in this context, even more so. And then the vibrato finally comes through at the end of the phrase on mouth.
Kissed your mouth.
So even in this very limited melody that she has, this very repetitive melody, and again, it is a song where I don't think you need to have crazy differences in style between verses. In fact, the more similar they are, the better, because it keeps us in this almost meditative state. But even amongst all that, she's still able to give us little bits of variety here and there. Then the piano rises up into...
Felt the earth.
There, the cello comes in, really exaggerating this idea of the prolonged harmonic progression. This is the same chord, the cello bowing for quite a long time though, the same note as the bass, so the cello is doubling up the harmonic function of being that real harmonic support at the bottom of everything. And just here, it's separated from the bass in terms of its harmonic role. All that means is that it's no longer playing the same note as the bass. They're playing different notes of this chord. Nice choice of having a cello as well, because the bass and the cello are both stringed instruments. One is being plucked for the rhythmic function of keeping things moving in this really quite slow song, and the cello is just for the drama, I feel. We get some upper strings coming in as well. It sounds like a viola or two.
That was there.
sustaining that note and then resolving only at the very end. So again, like we saw earlier in the piano at the start, having a sustained note causing dissonance, and then towards the end of the verse, a bit more rhythmic change now.
was there at my
Chum, chum, chum. And the little percussion as well, playing some more notes than we've been hearing previously. Da, 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 da. All right, well, let's carry on for the third and final verse, it looked like, based on the lyrics.
and the first time ever I lay with you, I felt your heart so close to mine, and I knew our joy would fill the earth and last till the end of time, my love.
Interesting cello there, isn't it?
Last till the end of time, my love. The first time ever I saw your face, your face, your face, your face.
Nice ending on the rising melody up. Just before the final bit,
The first time
so this phrase, the first time ever I saw your face, we've heard it a lot in the song. We're now very familiar with it, with the chord progression we're expecting.
ever I saw
The bass has been removed now, and that really stood out to me. I'm thinking, why have they done this? She is allowed an extended run in her melody, which in turn changes the chord progression here. So we're getting different chords to every time we've heard this phrase previously. Fundamentally, the music is changed now, which takes us into the outro. Yeah, it's a really, really calming song. And I'm amazed at how there was growth throughout the performance, like we so often see with other artists. But the growth is usually obvious. Things move up in pitch, things get so much louder, more powerful percussion. Here, the percussion stayed the same pretty much throughout the whole thing, so subtle. And the performance somehow remained subtle. Yet, from verse 1 to verse 2 to verse 3, the texture was thickened, more instruments were added in. In the final verse there, we got violins coming in with a more prominent role. So the strings, by an orchestral standard, double bass, cello, viola, violin, all enter in that linear progression. More instruments, a bigger sound. But I'm kind of like a broken record here, but it's just all very, very subtle.
so close to mine.
More power in her voice here. We can hear it following on from that lovely violin lead-in. There was another bit that I really like. There was this unresolved suspension around the 4-minute mark. I made sure to check it so I come back to it.
Would fill the
So we're hearing these two notes in the piano, a direct clash, which in the wider context you'd then expect to resolve. So that note here was suspended. But it doesn't resolve, it essentially leaves us hanging. And I feel the tension kind of increased at the end there.
and last
chum, 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 chum. This time round, every beat is stressed exactly the same. Other times when we hear it, different beats are stressed, which really throws us off if we're thinking in terms of 1, 2, 3, 4. If before you were stressing beats 1 and 3, but then you start stressing beats 2 and 4 or 2 and 3, it makes things a tiny bit more tense. We get a tiny bit more uncertainty about what's to come, especially having these new instruments in there. And like I said before, I feel it kind of grows, culminates towards the end whilst somehow maintaining that level of calm, serenity, finishing like it started. Yeah, really interesting song, that one. Really, really interesting. I'm going to listen to it a handful more times now. I'm sure there'll be a lot that I missed in there. But I think this song, you know, it's a love song and it's a nostalgic song. And I think the purpose of it is to lull us into this state of calmness, and I think it did that perfectly. Let me know if you agree or disagree down in the comments below. I think we'll leave that one there. So thank you very much for watching. Would appreciate a like and subscribe. Let me know if I should be embarrassed for not knowing Roberta Flack prior to this. If you do tell me off, you can soften the blow by donating me a hot chocolate at the Buy Me a Coffee linked below. Or if you'd like to join the community, get access to exclusive content, you can do so by joining the Patreon linked on the screen now, and I will see you next time.